test. I'm going to call this meeting of the Legislature to order and welcome everyone. To start things off, Legislator Denise Ford will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Please rise and place your hand over your heart and join me.
Thank you, Denise. We do not have top cops today. The police representatives and unions are attending a memorial service for a police officer who died in the line of duty today. So we're going straight to the public comment. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Roll call. Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Coppell. Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Denise Ford. Thank you. Legislator Sela Bino. Legislator Carrier Salage. Here. Legislator Deborah Muley. Thank you. Legislator C. William Gaylord III.
Here.
Legislator John Dufresne. Here. Legislator Mazi Palip. Legislator Delia DeRidley Witten. Thank you, ma'am. Legislator James Kennedy. Here. Legislator Thomas McKevitt. Here. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Here. Legislator John Ferretti. Here. Thank you. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Here. Legislator Rosemarie Walker. Here. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Okay. Legislator Michael Gian Gregorio. Here. Thank you. Minority Leader Kavan Abrahams. Thank you. And Presiding Officer Richard Nicolello. We have a quorum, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go right into public comment. If you have not already submitted a slip for public comment, the slips are over here to your left. We'd ask you to please fill them out, hand them to the ladies at the clerk's table, and we'll call you in turn. Now, almost every one of these slips relates to Long Island Bus, the contract, which we'll be considering soon. Anyway, I'm assuming that you'll want to speak when the bus contract is called, so I'm going to delay calling you. I'm going to have two other slips of non-bus related. I'll call them. If there's anyone else who is here to speak about the bus and needs to speak now, please come up to the microphone after those two slips are called. First slip is for Susan Hanson from Rocky Point.
Hello? I'm a volunteer with New York Citizens Audit, not an official spokesperson. My comments are my own based on my understanding and research from multiple sources. I want to respond to recent statements reported in local papers. New York Citizens Audit volunteers do not represent themselves as Board of Election officials. They do not demand any information from residents, and they do not attempt to intimidate or threaten anyone. These are indeed serious allegations, but they are false. It's most unfortunate that there was a very defamatory article printed in local papers, and that Letitia James and other authorities did not do the necessary due diligence to investigate these claims before making a spectacle of it with the sensationalized and slanderous news stories. The second topic I want to bring up has to do with your voting machines, Nassau County in particular. The New York State Board of Elections newly approved ES&S Express Vote XL machines. They eliminate hand-mark paper ballots and the ability to audit elections, and they compromise election integrity. These are newly approved machines by the state, and they are being considered for purchase in Nassau County. You already have machines as your voting machines that are in place. The new machines do not use traditional hand-marked ballots. They use a touch screen to select voting choices. They produce a printed receipt with the voter selection and a barcode. The barcode is used to count the votes. You are unable to verify if the barcode reflects the voter choice because you can't read a barcode. And as a result, this kind of negates the ability to have an audit in an election. If you count the printed receipts, you're looking at the name, but that's not what the machine counts. The machine counts the barcode. This will also result in longer voting lines and wait times because these are all-in-one voting machines. It will increase the risk of technical failures, the cost for the machines and the maintenance, and it will diminish trust in the voting system. So what I would ask of you as the legislators to please investigate this, please look into the voting machines used in your county and consider these serious concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. For the current round of voting that's going to take place in the next couple of weeks, they are using the existing machines. They're not using the new machines approved by the state. And I believe if they ever want to move to that, I think they'll have to submit a item to this legislature. So before they ever move, it'll be a legislative item. If they ever propose going to the new machines. But as of now, with the early voting starting next week and the election on November 7th, the existing machines will be used in Nassau County. Yaron Levy.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. My name is Yaron Levy. I'm not going to be in any official capacity today. I'm as a constituent of Legislative District 10. On behalf of myself and many others there that feel the same sentiment, I would like to express a great debt of thank you, courage, fortitude, and leadership skills as an elected official. I'm sure you can all appreciate what taking the helm and the fort when needed. I would like to express a great tribute of thanks to Mazi Melissa Pilip, which is our elected official, for championing day and night, despite her public engagements, her personal engagements, on behalf of Israel, and standing up as a true bastion of leadership. And I would like to also tell you that your words have resonated not only in the county of Nassau, they've resonated in the city of New York, they've resonated in the greater state of New York, and they have resonated internationally. It's very easy to stay content in our comfort zone, and that's got nothing to do with me. Better not. Let's just. I'm pretty busy right now. There's so many distractions that can take away from the real issues, which stay pressing at current. And for that, the entire District 10 tells you thank you for your leadership, thank you for your ability to see past not only your private engagements and your elected official engagements, but the global sphere. I yield the time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Levy.
Yaron, I just want to say this. I didn't know that you're planning to come here and to talk about, the things I was doing the last 2 weeks. And this is my obligation as a Jew, as a former Israeli Defense Force member, as a person who has so many family members in Israel. And I think I'm doing what I need to do, but thank you for coming all the way here and to say that. And I also would like to take the opportunity to thank the American people, my colleagues in government, who are understanding the pain that the nation of Israel is feeling right now in this moment. So thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice.
Thank you. So we're moving right along with the business. The first thing we need to do is a motion to suspend the rules, moved by Legislator Ford, seconded by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell. All in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. So we'll do the consent calendar. Then there will be, there's a vote on an individual to the district court, and then we'll go into the bus hearing. Consent calendar are items that went through committees 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. They had full debate and discussion at that time, and it's been agreed by the minority that no further debate or discussion is necessary for these items at this time. Item 3, Ordinance 62. Item 4, Ordinance 63. Item 5, Ordinance 64. Item 6, Ordinance 65. Item 7, Ordinance 66. Item 8, Ordinance 67. Item 9, Ordinance 68. Item 10, Ordinance 69. Item 11, Ordinance 70. Item 13, Resolution 194. Item 14, Resolution 195. Item 15, Resolution 196. 16, Resolution 197. 18, Resolution 199. 19, Resolution 200. 20, Resolution 201. 21, Resolution 202. 22, Resolution 203. 23, Resolution 204. 24, Resolution 205. 25, Resolution 206. 26, Resolution 207. 27, Resolution 208. 28, Resolution 209. 29, Resolution 210. 30, Resolution 211. 31, Resolution 212. 32, Resolution 213. Motion by Minority Leader Abrahams, seconded by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell. Any debate or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? They all pass unanimously. Item 17, Resolution number 198. It's a resolution confirming the appointment by the County Executive of Madeline Petrera Perrin as a judge of the District Court of the County of Nassau for the 4th Judicial District. Motion, Legislator Ferretti, seconded by Legislator Giuffre. We have the item to consider.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer Nicolello, Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Coppell, and fellow legislators. My name is Madeline Petrara Perrin. I would like to thank County Executive Bruce Blakeman for having appointed me as judge of the Nassau County District Court. It is an honor and privilege to be before you today and considered for judge in this great county. I thank each of you for your consideration of this judicial appointment, as well as the work you do for the people of Nassau County. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate those remarks. Any debate or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously, and I'll be the first to congratulate you, Judge.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sure. Item 1, proposed ordinance, item 1, which is a hearing on a proposed ordinance 61, an ordinance to authorize the county executive to execute an agreement between the County of Nassau acting on behalf of the County Department of Public Works and TransDev Services, Inc. for the management, operation, and maintenance of a Nassau County bus system. Motion by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Gian Gregorio. So all in favor of opening the hearing signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? The hearing is open. Ken?
Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Commissioner of Public Works, Nassau County. As per General Municipal Law 119R, Nassau County, and Local Law 1972, the county is authorized to provide a bus service. In 2010, MTA indicated that their subsidy to the bus service would have to be increased significantly, which led the county to move towards a private operator. In 2010, the county solicited private companies to provide the service. Veolia, now known as TransDev, was selected, and they have been the operator for the county's bus service, which is known as NICE. Veolia Transdev has received good and satisfactory reviews every year by the department, and there's been no major findings by the FTA in their triennial review. Transdev's contract was extended under the terms in 2014 for additional 5 years, and also was amended in 2020, which is their current contract expires at the end of this year. In anticipation of that, the department issued an RFP for bus transportation services in January of 22, with the plan to have a new firm in place by the end of the year. Initially, 4 companies showed interest. Proposals were received by 2 firms. The evaluation committee was made up of people from social services, human services, public works, minority affairs, and the Office of Management and Budget. The evaluation showed that they received the highest technical score and had the most comprehensive and responsive proposal and support, and would provide the best value to the county. Transdev will perform all tasks necessary to manage, operate, and maintain the county's current bus service, called NICE, for a period of 7 years, and from January 1st, 2024, and this contract has an option to renew at 5 years and then another additional 3 years. The calendar year for 2024 has a proposed operating budget of $169 million. The farebacks and advertising non-operating revenue portion of that is $31.4 million. The total contract amount of $169 is subject to the approval of both the county legislature, which will happen at the end of this month, through the department's budget, and then we go to the bus transit committee for their approval. The contract is made up of 2 parts. The fixed fee covers administrative, benefits, insurance, security services, marketing, utilities, and there's a variable fee that covers operator, mechanic labor, and benefits, insurance, revenue, vehicle parts, consumables, inventory, and fuel. The contract is capped at a profit of 4%. The budget of $169 includes platform rate hours that are approximately 20% less than similar operating bus operations in the region, which is MTA, and we looked at Westchester also. And the on-time performance, bus monitoring, cleanliness, and safety that are all measured by NICE Bus and reported to us is in the 90th percentile, and reportable incidents of accidents when compared to last time MTA ran the bus service is 45% less accident rate. Open for any questions.
So is there anyone else from the administration that's going to be speaking, or is that?
Depends on the questions. We have a county attorney, we have a bunch of people here, depending on the questions.
So before we go into questions, I just want to welcome, I see Jack Kazus, the CEO of NICE, is here with us. All right, any questions from the legislators?
I don't really have a question, Ken. I just have something I want to solidify for the record, and I think he started to jump on it a little bit when you talked about the contract amount.
Yes.
The contract amount for 2024 was $270,605, but it does escalate through the 7 years of the contract, correct?
The contract has a 3% maximum obligation in it by the county.
So I just wanted to make sure that we establish for the record that in 2024 the contract amount is $169 million, but by 2030 it's $202.1 million for a total contract of $1.3 billion.
That's the maximum obligated amount. Yes.
Yes, that's what I want to make sure of. And is there a maximum obligated amount for the fare box, or is it the same number that you mentioned on the record, 31 million?
Well, fare box. I mean, every year the budget is looked at by NICE, talking to people from my department, and we determine what a reasonable fare box estimate is for the county's budget. Mm-hmm. So that we'll look at ridership trends and decide is fare box increasing, decreasing, and we'll make that proposal to the Office of Management Budget. They look at that, and then it's considered part of our budget submittal that you see at the end of this month.
So you don't have a forecast similar to what I'm looking at in our backup for years 1 through 7?
I mean, we believe that the service will continue to grow, but I mean, you look what COVID did to the service. We're still recovering from that. I think we're finally seeing numbers that are coming back to pre-COVID levels, but I would not say that it's a hard 3% estimate each year. We look at different factors that are trending on how the bus service is being used.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Legislator Bino, I think you had a question.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Hi, Ken.
Good afternoon.
So I have questions about the procurement process, and I have some questions about the service and routes and things of that nature. So should I address the procurement issues with you?
Sure, and people come up that I need, yes.
Okay. So, first I'd like to question, you said there were 2 bids that came in, right? Or 2 responses?
2 responses, yes.
Okay. And one of the responders, I believe, had a lot of communication back and forth with the administration regarding questions, open issues with the scope of service. Is that correct?
Well, we had an addenda process where we take questions from the vendors, and I think we issued 5 or 6 addendas on this process, answering questions throughout the solicitation.
Okay. And how many different questions were included in those amendments?
I think there was probably around 50. Let me get Sharon, hold on. We had about 200, some were repetitive. So
Some were repetitive.
repetitive questions, yes.
Is it unusual to get that number of questions?
Depends on the size of the project. I mean, when I bid larger building projects, I will get a dramatically more question and answer if I bid a smaller construction project. So I would think 200 is not unreasonable for the size and scope of this contract.
Okay. And then when the process was concluded, and then the announcement of the successor, there was a protest that was put in after that?
There was a bid process that was submitted to the department. The department went through the protest in great detail. We put together a response and was submitted back to the vendor, and there was no further follow-up by that vendor.
Okay. What does a protest process typically look like?
Typically, it's asking questions that they think something might have been unfairly portrayed or answers were not responded to properly, and then so we put together a response to those concerns, laying out why we did what we did and how it conforms with our policy.
Okay, and so who undertakes that protest process? Is it your department directly? Is it county attorney? Is it
The
who's involved?
department contracting officer prepares the response, working with Robert Cleary.
Okay. And does the IG's office get involved in that at all?
Good afternoon, legislators. Jane Hodak, Nassau County Department of Public Works General Counsel and Department Chief Contracting Officer. So the other bidder, and I'm sorry the name escapes me at this moment because this happened well over a year ago, submitted a bid protest. And in that bid protest, they cited a lot of boilerplate law that we responded to. And then they identified a number of issues that they thought that they were entitled to receive information regarding. Most of that information was either provided to them, and we set that out in the response, or it was information about how TransDev internally operates. It would be not information that we would have as the county, nor would it be information that would have been germane to the contract solicitation. So we provided that response, and they hired a good law firm to craft their initial protest. We gave them that response, and we didn't hear anything further from them. And they were certainly at liberty to pursue that with either Robert Cleary or through what's known as an Article 78 process in the courts. And you all have been, you're an experienced legislator, you know what happens in situations like that. And so they did not pursue that, but throughout, it was very clear to me when I undertook an extensive review of the contract file that Sharon Prasad had done a really good job patiently answering their questions, despite the fact that it was very obvious that they really weren't asking questions about our contract and our contracting procedure, but they really wanted to know how NICE internally operates to be a successful company.
So, while I would like to think that most of us, that we have some experience with that, but I would tell you that I have no idea how a protest is managed internally.
Okay, so,
I know that one has the ability to file an Article 78 in the event that they felt
Right.
really that it was arbitrary and capricious and the like. But in terms of how you manage your process internally for a protest, I have no idea how that process would work. So I thank you for both you and Ken explaining that to me this morning. And so I had received some correspondence from them where they were asking for, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna go through the file, and like you said, it was probably about a year ago.
Right.
When was this, just as we talk about it now, when did we let this RFP?
the RFP was issued in January, correct? In January
January?
of this year.
Okay. And so,
I think it was off.
say again?
It was this year, right?
I thought it was 22.
22? January 22, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's over, so it's a long
Yeah.
time
Yes.
coming. It was the protest part of the delay, or, I think the decision was made in, what, April or something, or in the
I
spring?
mean, there was time we had to take to answer the protest, so I would say there probably was a little bit of the delay.
Okay. But in reading through some of what they asked for and that they were concerned about a year ago or so, was regarding, like, if they were taking over the plant, right? If they were gonna be responsible for the physical plants of, some of the operating, facilities. They wanted to see things like, the utility space and things like that, and there was some concerns in not being able to see those spaces. And I wouldn't say that should be, confidential information, because they would need to know if they're taking responsibility for the management of those areas and some of those burdens, then they should know what they're taking on. They should be able to do those inspections. They had a lengthy list of things, and I'd like to hear from the IG to see if she reviewed that process and if she's comfortable with first our RFP process, and then second, the response to the protest, because we didn't even, I personally only knew that they did a protest this morning. Someone contacted me to tell me they did a protest. Prior to that, I know that they made complaints and that they had filed a grievance, so to speak, with me prior to even Nice Bus being selected. And I referred all that information to the IG's office, because that's not my role, and that's the role of the IG. And so I'd like to hear from the IG this morning, or this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, sorry.
So my question specifically is, I know you reviewed some documentation that was sent to me, that I felt you were the appropriate entity to review it, so I sent it to you, and I believe you reviewed those documents, and that was prior to any decision-making by way of the administration and its selection. And you felt in that moment that it was not an issue based on the things that I showed you, even though there were like 200 additional questions and several different amendments that were issued. Did you review the protest as well that came in after?
I didn't review the protest. I think back when we had a meeting at some point discussing, it was a while ago too, but I can ensure to you that we reviewed all of the questions that were asked, and you're right, there were quite a bit, but we didn't find anything. We didn't find any red flags with respect to the questions, but other than there were a bunch. I also wanted to let you know that my office was present at the administration selection committee meetings for the entire process, and again, we didn't find anything inappropriate.
Okay. And by way of the protest, did you receive that? Did you know about it?
I actually never get, they don't actually loop us into bid protests haven't actually, I learn of them, you know, because people talk, but they don't usually just come to me.
Yeah, I would think that, you know, given the fact that those items would eventually end up at the legislature, that protests that are birthed out of these RFP process, the procurement process, should be directed to the IG's office. Because when I read your report, I didn't feel any need to ask any additional questions until this morning when I learned that there was a protest that was put in. And then we went back and looked at the report, and there was no indication that you were aware of a protest. And I think that this body should be made aware of protests, and I think our IG, who is the investigative arm of the legislative body, should also be informed, so that we vet those issues and we're not here on the day of trying to make sure that, you know, our process maintained, you know, proper level of integrity. So I know you know, I can't ask you to do something unless you know about it, right? So
That's true.
all right. So just for the record, you're saying that you found nothing wrong with the procurement process, that you attended those meetings, you reviewed all the documents that I forwarded to you, and you feel that this contract meets a high level of, I guess, of integrity, and that you have no problems.
And we had a back and forth with DPW with some questions, and the answers that we received were reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I actually, is Mr. Cleary here, or? No? Okay. Chris? Mr. Lemoyne, I'm just putting on the record a request that when the legislature is going to receive contracts and we're going to engage in this type of, you know, decision making with such a large dollar amount tied to it and such an important service. But in any case, if there is a protest that's made, that the legislative body be made aware of it, and that the IG's office also be made aware of it, so that it's vetted, we're aware of it in advance, and we can make a decision, a sound decision. But for me to learn today that there was a protest kind of puts me in a quandary. I'm happy that the IG was here and she could clarify for the record that she didn't see a problem. Can we get some level of
Yes, of course, legislature.
surety on that? Yes. So moving forward, we will get records of protests when you send the contract in.
Right, for contracts that go to the legislature, yes. We will work to implement that, yes.
Okay. Thank you. My next set of questions is regarding service delivery. Okay. And they're brief, short little issues I believe we can touch on. So first, I first want to thank President Jack Kuntz for really being accessible and highly responsive whenever my office reached out regarding any issues of ridership. I just have one request. We have had certain times when bus stops have been eliminated, and then we received the calls, and I called Jack, and then he says, "Oh, yeah, you know, the stop it's used, but low, you know, it's not used regularly." And then we find out that it's an elderly person who uses the route, and so he reinstates the bus stop. Or, you know, they did a loop one time that was going into, I think, a little small mall, and then they stopped it. But in any event, you really work to make sure that we could restore those things if possible. And it usually takes like a week or two once we come to the agreement that there would be restoration. I think that if you could let us know that you're considering, you know, some of those changes in advance, there could be less disruption to the riders. And I think it would be a good courtesy for all of us up here if there was going to be that type of change. I know you don't have to. I'm asking for the courtesy.
Yep.
Thank you for the question, legislator. You're completely right. We have 2,500 stops in the county, and it's my responsibility to communicate with all of you when we affect any of your constituents on the road. Sometimes to be honest with you, it's my fault. Stops at me, but you all know, as legislator you pointed out, I'm just a phone call away, and I always pick up my phone. So within those issues that you spoke about, we took care of that last stop literally within 24 hours and put it back. But it should have never been removed to begin with, or at least not without your understanding and cooperation. So I completely understand. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the next question is going to be
Okay.
for you too. So I'm learning that folks are getting on the bus and not paying sometimes. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So fare evasion is an issue. And fares make up, as Ken had mentioned, make up a good amount of our revenue that helps, again, drive the amount of service we put out there. It is a fine line to understand the reasoning behind that, and we don't ask our drivers to do that because, of course, that could end up in a escalated situation that we don't want to put anybody in harm's way for $2.90, right? So it is a fine line. Do we know how much fare evasion affects us? We think it may be 10 to 12 to 15%, just by observation, just by speaking to the drivers, just by understanding ridership versus fare collection. You can look at the delta and figure out what it is. Is there a good way to solve fare evasion other than putting a police officer on every bus? No, there's not. So what we try to do is educate the public and educate the drivers on how to properly handle that, educate our supervisors how to properly handle that. But it's a difficult situation that every service in the country is dealing with right now.
So your number might even be higher because in speaking to a bus driver, he says, we just kind of don't even report it anymore. They don't want to get in, you don't want them to get into an interaction. They've been told not to. Their union has counseled them against doing that. And it just, I guess, becomes a little more troublesome for them to have to even do the reporting. But the numbers are high, and, you know, I know that you have a council that you work with, and, you know, I don't know how we can, you know, the legislative body, I don't know how we can work together to get that number down without putting our drivers in danger. But that's concerning.
It is. The other issue we have, too, is when we have a bus full of people trying to get somewhere on time, and we're trying to run a 90, 95% on-time performance. That's our goal, and we're hitting that goal. To stop the whole bus and hold it for response, whether it be from a supervisor or the police, you know, and our police departments are very busy. And again, to respond to a $2.90 issue is somewhat difficult. I totally understand. We are working as a group across the country, both on the national level and the New York State level, to come up with creative solutions that are both compassionate in some cases, but also a little bit firmer. And I think as we progress out of this COVID recovery, we'll see a little bit better fare box recovery on that.
Okay, I see the challenge that you're up against on that. So, thank you for your answers. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Legislator Ford, then Legislator Solange.
Good afternoon. So the budget that we have with this contract, that's strictly for operating and maintenance. Does the bus company then also does a capital plan for the buses, am I correct? So the $167 million is basically for employees, benefits,
Yes.
Taking care of the staff and whatever. Okay. When you look at the respondents to the RFP, since TransDev has been serving as our bus system for quite many years, do we take a look at like maybe the number of complaints and everything? Do we take that into consideration? Because I don't think they seem to have a lot.
Yeah, so part of any award of a contract, we look at their performance on other contracts. So their performance both on our current contract and their other work around the country would all have been looked at, yes.
All right, and I have to echo what Legislator Bino had said, that, Ms. Kazoos, you've always been very responsive, and whenever we've called over for anything that we've gotten satisfactory answers, and I think, I really appreciate that, even with looking at different routes. I know you had met with the city manager down in Long Beach to come up with some ideas, and hopefully, I know that with the able ride system, we are now under law. You're going to be, I guess, expanding it into Queens and Suffolk, I guess, or whatever it is, or however this is going to change. But I'm hoping maybe moving forward that we may consider at some point even expanding the geographic mile. I know it's of a great cost, but especially for our residents here in the county, for so many more residents that just cannot ride buses, that cannot drive themselves. I'm hoping that maybe we could look at that to expand it and make some, come up with some, maybe sometimes when you have to like allow somebody, give them a reprieve to allow them to be able to ride, take an able ride, to be able to get access to their doctor's appointments and so forth and so forth. So that would be just my closing statement. I won't be here, but I feel like Judy Jacobs is sitting on my shoulder right now saying, because that was her big thing, was the able ride and the expansion of it and make it more accessible to many of our residents here in Nassau County. But I thank you very much, and Commissioner, I thank you very much for your testimony today.
Legislator Solage.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Commissioner?
How are you?
Nice to say good afternoon, Mr. Jack, as well. Thank you for being here. My district, the 3rd Legislative District, borders New York City. Many of my constituents live in Almonte Valley Stream, but take public transportation to go to work. Their dependence upon public transportation and upon your system is very important, and I've reached out to you regarding several issues. In fact, I'm very glad to see one of my constituents who has reached out to you before also here today. And so my line of questioning is more so regarding service and what this contract provides. Can you please provide more information as to on-time performance records regarding...
I'll let Jack go over that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator. As I discussed previously or mentioned previously, so we have 2,500 stops. Our fixed route on-time performance currently is at 90%. September is always our most challenging month because we have back to school, and on-time performance dips down to about 87–88%. Overall, our goal up until September was 90, or our actual was 92%. So we dipped a little bit in September. We're back up to 90 currently. We want to hit 92 to 95. The way we measure on-time performance is the industry average, or industry standard, I'm sorry. 1 minute early, 5 minutes late. So you have a 6-minute window around that arrival time. 1 minute early, 5 minutes late. And again, understanding that we have Nassau County traffic and Queens and Flushing traffic to deal with, 2,500 stops to make, and relatively full buses. Sometimes that's a challenge to make, but what we do is we take the data. We have a very technically driven service. We take the data that we measure and feed it back into the schedule and planning system with the input of the drivers. And we adjust that schedule every quarter to adjust seasonally or detour-minded. When we know that there's going to be a detour in a specific area, we adjust those schedules to try to accommodate as much as we can. But that's an average. So, yes, your trip for 1 day or might be late. There may be a breakdown. There may be an accident. But in general, we perform at a very, very high rate.
But I've heard from constituents and who say that, they are waiting at the Jamaica station. They have been waiting there for over 15 minutes, which is well beyond 6 minutes, and they have not had any other buses come within a reasonable, timely increment of time. And so, what other factors are influencing your performance rate? I mean, is it the fact that, are the number of bus drivers you have, is that a factor?
No.
Have you have an increase in bus drivers or a decrease in bus drivers?
Our bus driver, we, as again, every bus company in the country has a slight shortage, but we don't miss trips because of shortage of bus drivers. You mentioned something that people are waiting 15 minutes, but it's beyond 6 minutes. Those two don't have anything to do with each other. There's a frequency of travel, a frequency of buses that may be every 15 minutes. Okay, so if they're waiting 15 minutes, that may be the scheduled time. That may be the interval between buses. But they have to look at their schedule. We also provide the bus app that tells them exactly when their bus is going to be there, so they don't really need to wait at a bus stop. And 60% of our travelers now use that app to plan their trips and find out where their buses are. But remember, frequency and on-time performance are two different things. So if a constituent says, I'm waiting 15 minutes for a bus, doesn't necessarily mean the bus is late. That may be the frequency of the bus service. That being said, if you speak to me and tell me, Jack, at this time, 6:15, people are waiting, their bus is late, then just call me and let me know the time, let me know the date. That we'll investigate and we'll adjust it as the schedule goes forward.
But I have received those calls. I mean, under the previous contract, did you have a certain number of buses allocated in that situation where, near the Jamaica Depot, where if there is a bus arriving late beyond 15 minutes, can you provide for a quicker bus to come there?
So we do have spares, and we station spares both at the depot and in some cases out at different points.
Do we get more spares with this contract?
I'm sorry?
Do we get more spares with this contract?
You don't get any more spares because the spares are dictated by the FTA and how many total buses you can own in the field. So it's a spare ratio, and it's really the amount of buses we can own based on the number of hours of service we put out. The FTA puts that out for us, and they say we can own about a 20% spare ratio. But again, anytime you put more spares out that aren't utilized, that's inefficiency out there also. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, and the way I think of command center when they're managing these, and I think you've seen our command center, looks like a airport terminal in there with all the screens. They are managing service as we go. There may be a driver available. There may be a bus available. There may not be. The bus may have gotten in an accident. By the time we dispatch it, the other bus will get there. So there's a lot of moving parts to that.
Going forward under this contract, cutting runs or routes, what procedure will you engage in to inform the public? I've made a previous request upon this body that this hearing be held in the evening because many of my constituents who are concerned about it could not be here during the daytime because they work. Mm-hmm. So going forward, when it comes to cutting routes or changing routes, what procedure will you afford and provide, and how can we have greater access by the public to attend such meetings where such information is being provided?
Yeah, we'll certainly bring that up. There's a whole protocol around that. Besides just the meetings, we send out notices on their app. We post in the buses. We take phone calls. We take all that input throughout the period. It's not just that one or two meetings. But yes, that is a very good point, and I'll certainly bring it to the committee's attention. I don't control the committee time meetings. That's not for me to control. But I will certainly bring it up as a strong suggestion. Let's put it that way.
The environment is continuing to be a very, very important concern. Can you please provide information as to how the buses that are afforded through this contract will be able to meet carbon emission standards by 2030 and 2050, please?
So that's a great question. Your bus system is currently a low emissions bus system. This is a CNG system, compressed natural gas. It's not diesel. So that being said, compressed natural gas puts out 97% less emissions than a diesel bus does. The buses you see in the city are converting now, but many of those buses are still diesel buses. My counterparts upstate also run diesel buses. You're the only fleet in the country of this size that's compressed natural gas. So that gives us a leg up. Number two, as of last week, we just started running our first electric bus that we received. It's on the road now being beta tested. And hopefully as we shake that bus out in the next few weeks or month or so, we should receive another 4. That'll give us an understanding of the operational complexity that goes into running two different technologies, CNG and electric. There are pluses and minuses to both. So that's a great point.
Thank you. But will we meet by 2030 or by 2050? Well, I guess that's beyond this contract. But right. Are we on pace? Are we on a plan to at least meet certain standards?
That's a good question, and it's still to be determined by the state of New York if our CNG bus fleet already meets that requirement. It is the way the requirement is written. It is a no emissions requirement. So we still need to speak to the state specifically to ask if we do already meet that requirement. But there are plans to continue carbon decarbonization out of our system by doing things like converting our supervisor fleet to electric, converting the paratransit fleet to electric, or a combination of hybrid electric. So we're moving towards that fairly quickly.
Understood. Back to Able Ride. Can you, as an operator, use the money you receive for Able Ride for any other purposes, such as covering the gap just the money for Able Ride? Can you use that for other purposes?
So the way we receive money from the state, and that's the majority of our funding, 70% is from the state, there is no delineation between Able Ride versus fixed route. We use it for transit, and we as a transit provider, under Ken's supervision, understand that paratransit has to be part of our total. And there's no exclusion to that. I can't carve out more money for fixed route at the expense of paratransit. Let's put it that way.
Understood. Thank you. If we could just, I appreciate all your responses, and I thank you, but if we could just follow up with a meeting with my constituent regarding just service issues from the Jamaica station, I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Legislator Rizzi Whitten.
Thank you. And Jack, I just want to thank you also for doing the loop bus in Port Washington. I think it's really been a model for the whole, industry, in the sense that it's freed up a number of parking spots at the train station, which has always been a major issue. I just had two quick questions, Jack, and I hate to have you come back up. But one, I always have to put in a plea, speaking of Judy Jacobs, just for the northeast, portion of Nassau County, which really doesn't have any bus service. Glen Cove has about 10% of the city covered. And I know there's none in Bayville and Oyster Bay, and I understand part of it is that the homes are further apart and all that, but if we could, I always have to ask you to always keep that in the back of your mind, that service used to really help Glen Cove, and it was, it's missed for sure. So if there's ever any possibility of reinstating any of that, I would be very interested. And just the second question, as far as the electric buses, I heard that you've run into a couple of problems with those, with the batteries lasting and things like that. Could you just elaborate on that?
So the electric bus is obviously the main cost of that electric bus is the battery technology that goes with it. Then there's an infrastructure cost also. We have to have chargers and everything else that goes with that. The way we have procured those vehicles is we have purchased additional warranties on the batteries so that they don't go out before the useful life of the bus does. So that the investment made by the federal government through the FTA and partly yours also is not short-circuited by a defaulty battery.
So all in all, do you find that they're working effectively, the electric buses? Or?
It still remains to be seen. Again, we've just started beta testing the electric bus on the road. It's performing great so far, but there'll be challenges. It's a new technology, and we have to adjust to it also. The industry needs to adjust to it. So we have to understand how it actually operates. It doesn't make a lot of sense if we can't get as much road time with the electric bus, or we need 2 electric buses for every CNG bus. So the efficiencies are still to be seen. We're very optimistic, though, based on what we hear from other operators that run it. Really, the operation's mostly been on the West Coast, so they benefit from nicer weather than we do. So we'll certainly report how we see these.
So in the next 7 years, do you anticipate adding more electric buses to your fleet?
Assuming everything goes well, we will probably add additional vehicles as the options come up. But it all depends, again, on what technology does between now and then, whether it be electric, whether it be hybrid electric, plug-in hybrid electric, whether it be CNG electric or hydrogen or whatever else comes along. But we are committed to whatever new technology works the best for our residents to make it safe and reliable.
Thank you.
Okay. Legislator Solage.
Thank you. I've been getting a lot of concerns, constituent concerns, phone calls from constituents regarding bus service in and around the UBS Arena. If you may please provide any information as to how you may address some of those issues, please.
Yeah, I have not heard directly from constituents about the arena service per se. There's two different services there, obviously, that we have to think about. Number one is event service, and number two is employee service, or what we call employee shuttles. I haven't heard specifically, but again, we are certainly open to listening and learning and engineering what we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to public comment now. Richard Clolery.
My comments address multiple issues, not just the buses, although I am grateful for the opportunity to address this committee, this legislature. Some of my chief concerns include increasing funding from Nassau County. Due to bus cuts, there are now a number of dead zones, public transportation-wise. They keep on talking about flex service and all that, but with current budget levels, they can only do what they can. We need to not just increase the buses, fixed route buses, restore. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we need to increase service all around, because not just for my own use and everyone else's uses, that way they can get to places where they need to be, but also because Nassau County is changing significantly. There are a lot of people who are now reliant on public, not just on buses, but also living closer to railroad stations, because it's a lot more convenient for them to get to the city or other places where they need to be. To be honest, we need buses we need to restore bus lines, not just, or we need to increase flex service, or whatever they call it. Also, when are they going to install Omni into the system? I mean, Omni's been around for a while now, but has there been any progress?
After you finish, I'll have Mr. Kazoos answer that question.
All right, okay. Now, getting to other things. Our infrastructure sucks. I'm just going to be blunt. We're dealing with people who are dying on the roads because they're getting hit by bad drivers, distracted drivers, drunk drivers, and God knows what else. This is getting ridiculous. This is hurtful to everyone. The young, the old, they're getting killed left, right, and center. They're getting reported by Newsday, by News 12. I mean, what are your guys' plans for increasing enforcement, improving, and also, I noticed something the other day. It's been around for a long while now, that one of the signs that allow people to, which is on Hempstead Turnpike and Newbridge, you push a button, you get to walk safely across the street. One of those signs is down. I mean, it's been down for months now. I don't know what's going on, but it needs to be either fixed or replaced. You get to choose. Look, I speak as an average citizen. I mean, I'm dealing with hearing horror stories about parents losing their kids because some moron decides not to be careful with the responsibility of driving an automobile. This has to stop. Not for my sake, but for everyone's sake. You get what I'm saying? Any questions?
Thank you, Richard.
Any questions?
No, there's no questions.
Okay, anyway, what did you guys think?
Mr. Kazoos, I think there was a question, Mr. Kazoos, about Omni, the use of the Omni. I guess in New York City it's prevalent in the subways and buses, so maybe.
So Omni is a MTA product, okay. MTA brand, MTA product. We as an affiliate will be able to use that technology when it becomes available to us. Unfortunately, we don't control the timetable. It is completely up to the MTA when they're ready to roll it out. They're about currently they're estimating that 2024, end of 2024, is when they will start rolling it out to their affiliates. We've been working with them for almost 3 years now on that timetable. So we're hopeful, but again, we don't control that timetable. It's all controlled by the MTA.
So when they roll it out, you'll be ready to
we'll be ready to take it on. I believe we're actually the first affiliate outside of the New York City system that'll have the system. So.
All right, thank you. Greg May, Island Harvest.
Good afternoon. Greg May, Island Harvest Food Bank, Melville, New York. Here to read a statement into the record from our President and CEO, Randy Shubin-Dresner. Island Harvest Food Bank is a leading human services organization whose mission is to end hunger and reduce food waste on Long Island. Our work directly supports seniors, children, families, and veterans who turn to us in times of crisis through our mobile outreach program and supports a network of community-based nonprofit organizations and emergency feeding programs. The Nassau Intercounty Express bus service, Nice Bus, operated by Transdev, has been a caring partner with Island Harvest and so many other community-based organizations since the beginning of their original contract. So many of our clients are their riders, so it is important that so this is a very important partnership that we share. Nice Bus truly cares about their riders and the community it serves. Through their annual surveys, they have learned about which routes are most important, the times of day that are busiest and most sensitive to their riders' needs. They have advocated for more stops and important changes to schedules. They have made sure that the many cultures that make up our community are represented as much as possible in their signage and schedule information. We are grateful that in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, they provided Island Harvest access to their bus terminals for food distributions. Our staff always gets excited when they see the Nice Bus pull in during our Turkey and Trimmings campaign. Our staff will, we appreciate that their staff who have volunteered with us and are grateful for their generous financial contributions to ensure that our programs are strong and responsive to our community in need. In addition to more traditional forms of support, they have provided innovative solutions to help the neighbors whom we serve, including providing their bus route schedules to Island Harvest and adding important information about our services on their website while distributing important information on the programs we provide to their ridership. It is our hope to continue building our relationship with the team at Transdev, ensuring that the neighbors we serve and the riders of Nice Bus, of which there is significant overlap, receive the benefits and programming that they deserve. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Viana de Pena.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Viana de Pena, and I represent United Way of Long Island. I am their Community Impact Director, and I also oversee the Everyone Rides Nice program. So today I'm here just to share a few words about the program and the importance of collaboration and partnership. Over a decade ago, Nice Bus approached us, United Way, with the idea of creating a transportation fund for low to moderate income families and individuals in the county. Since then, we have helped thousands of people through the program with over $1 million of support. This is all possible thanks to the power of collaboration between Nice Bus, over 30 agencies across Nassau County, and us, United Way. With their help, we distribute bus passes and just allow families and people to get to work, to their appointments, to school. That free Metro card is a lifeline to many families and individuals who rely on public transportation. One of the participants that we have in our program is one of our Youth Build participants who lives in Long Beach and gets to ride the bus to come to Hempstead to work. Another one of our participants in the program just graduated from college because of a free Metro card that she received for over 2 years to attend college. And this and everything that we do as an organization wouldn't be possible without their support. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hari Downdial. I don't know if I'm correct with that pronunciation, but
All right, good afternoon all. My name is Hari Dondial, and I'm the president of the NASA Transit Accessibility Advisory Committee. That's we often refer as ATTAC, that's TAAC. I'm here today to express my full support for NICE, NASA Intercounty Express Bus Services. I'm not going to go into lengthy talk, just give you 3 major issues why I think that we should support the NICE. Number 1, safety, accessibility, and innovative means to deal with situation. You know, I'm a well-traveled individual. I've been taking public transportation for over 2 decades now, and I have taken every sort of transportation, whether it's a paratransit, whether it's a public regular or fixed route buses in different towns, cities, outside of Nassau County, across the states, across the country. And as a person with a disability, safety, accessibility is a paramount. We all know that often the issue is that, well, how the transportation is going to handle your request. You know, what kind of safety do they have? How accessible it is for you. I have a guide dog, for instance. I want to make sure the bus, the taxi, whatever I take, can accommodate my dog. So there's a lot good that goes into that. NICE Bus has shown that it has not only done a terrific job of handling such situations, but continue to innovate and improve on that. I recall, you know, just a reminiscent about, you know, several years back. This is before NICE. The bus I took, I used to joke around that, you know, that bus is, so to speak, a truck that has a hood on it. Because I would literally have a bumpy ride. My dog would slide on the floor. And when there was a rain, I literally had to take umbrella inside the bus. When the NICE took over, it changed. Today, if you take, I often joke that, you know, today the NICE system, the bus system that we have, the paratransit we have, it's the limousine version of a paratransit. That's how it has gotten today. And this is because we have innovative management who put their ideas to practice in a practical terms that works for all, and they do it within the budget they are given. You know, as a board member, as a president of the board that I have been part of since 2014, appointed by the county executive, I have seen dramatic changes. And I have said that I wouldn't have stayed with a board, I wouldn't have stayed with the committee, had not been for terrific, outstanding, and rational steps that the NICE Bus has taken. So at the end of the day, it matters. Safety, accessibility, innovation, and most importantly, knowing your passengers, the public that utilizes those services. And it is the view of my board members that NICE should continue to handle our transportation, the public transportation. And this is not just, you know, I'm referring to the paratransit. You know, you will see that the fixed route buses, the way a driver approaches you. When I'm waiting for public transportation, the fixed route bus that is, the driver understands, he's a well-trained, how to approach a guy who has a guide dog, a lady who has a guide dog, or someone who has using a white cane, that is the cane used by blind people. There's a different way to approach it. And that could not have been possible had not been for the training and for the policies and procedures that were put in by NICE. I mean, I could go on, you know, and I love to talk about in details because I have seen days when I literally waited for 3 hours, 4 hours for my transportation, and eventually I had to take taxi service. Now, you know that in my case, I have that option. Many other peoples don't. There are people with disabilities who could not take public transportation. They cannot take taxi. They cannot take any other mode of transportation other than relying on paratransit or perhaps a public fixed route bus. So, you know, seeing that and experiencing, you know, what I have seen, the positive changes that NICE brought to us, to the county. You know, we pay $2.90 for a NICE bus and $4 now for Able Ride. I told them I'm willing to pay $5 for that. I'm willing to pay, you know, $4 for fixed route buses because the way it handles the situation, including complaints. You know, I once had a driver that did not pull up to the curb, and he apologized to me because he realized, and he told me that it's just a inch off the curb, and the management took action on that, and also the driver, realizing his mistake, corrected right then and there. You could not ask for better services, and of course, you know, there's always something that has to be improved. There's always something that has to be fixed. But I would say that NICE bus definitely changed my way of looking at the public transportation. I believe it is one of the best services in the nation, which is why we get the highest rating. And I could say that on behalf of my board members, the public, anyone that I have come across has pretty much have said that, yes, there's always something that has to be improved, but it's a definitely best service that they could ever experience and have experienced in their life.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that. Barbara Mercer.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Mercer, and I work for Children's Learning Center at United Cerebral Palsy of Nassau County. And I would like to support NICE bus system. If not for them, we would not have gotten to the games for the physically challenged, which we participated in this year. In the past, we had to call a number of bus companies to try and get transportation. 5 bus companies turned us down and told us they were not available. They could not provide us transportation. Our students would not get to compete. In contacting NICE Bus Company, they immediately came to our rescue. They provided transportation for 40 students who were able to be athletes and achieve awards that day based on the cooperation and accessibility that NICE gave to us to compete in the games. Aside from that, our adults in our adult program who to participate in the Nassau County Town of Hempstead Anchor program are able to go to Anchor. They are able to go to the bowling programs, the physical fitness programs, for the plays, for the exercise, for everything. NICE is an integral part in the lives of students and adults with disabilities who do not have other accessible forms of transportation to participate and socialize in community events. The service is impeccable, and the courteousness with which they serve our clients and understanding of the needs of our clients is beyond reproach, and I support fully the NICE program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mercer. Eric Alexander, Visit Long Island.
Presiding Officer, members of the Legislature, Eric Alexander, Director of Vision Long Island. We are for a long time supporter of bus service in Nassau County, and back to the time when the MTA ran it and Tom Swazi was cutting the service, right? So we were grumpy with that county exec going way back, and then we were kind of grumpy with the Mangano administration when they were talking about privatizing bus service. In fact, outside in the steps, we had a rally with maybe 80 so-on folks concerned about how the service would go with a new company and nobody knew, and how's this going to work. And I have to say, over time, relationship got really strong, and we saw the service, and we saw the investment, and we saw, a great communication, public outreach. I mean, try to talk to the MTA Long Island Railroad right now. It's like, oh my God, talk about schedule confusion, Jamaica, all kinds of other stuff. Like, whew, that's a rough bureaucracy. This bureaucracy is very accessible, and I certainly hear all the questions that the legislators raise and have raised on both sides over the years, and accountability is there. The communication is there. The public outreach is there. We've seen that time and time again. We put a bus coalition together to go to Albany to lobby for more funds for the service. We're happy to see that they're cooperative. You guys are cooperative. Some of you guys have gone on the bus with us to try to get more money for the service, and that's critical. So, overall, we know that this group, Nice Bus, sees the bus as not just as getting folks to A to B, which you need to do, definitely, working folks and young people and seniors and people getting to their health appointments. But, the economic development piece is key, and really helps our downtowns, helps the workers in our various chambers as well. So they are really been a great partner. We've seen it time and time again. So with that, they participate also. The issue was raised about even ancillary issues that are real, walking, biking, issues that relate to getting to the stops. This group is accessible and open to that and those kinds of conversations. So with that, I'm just going to say, vote of support for continuing on. Just before I go, I got to do a little commercial. I'll see you guys, many of you guys, at our December 1st Smart Growth Summit. We're going to have about 1,000 people at that, and we'll talk about transportation, infrastructure, and lots of land use issues, too, to relate to the future of Nassau County. So thank you guys for having this hearing, and carry on.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you being here. Valerie Gaddis-Dorsey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Valerie Gaddis-Dorsey, and I am a resident of Elmont. I am also a frequent rider of the N1 bus service. I am here today to let N1 bus service know that they are horrific. I am one of the constituents that have been standing outside for 40 minutes waiting for N bus service to come. I have complaints from September 27th, 2021 up until June of 23, okay? The bus service for Elmont is not good. There are many times that I have to call friends who are riding the same line in Valley Stream to find out if the bus is coming or if the bus is late. Plenty of times I had to walk back up to my house to get a car to get me to the 179th Street train station. It is not good. When you are standing outside in the cold waiting for a bus, your bones start to take over and you get sick, okay? I have made plenty of complaints with the N1 bus service. Even Mr. Kozo, I've called your office, okay? Nothing has changed, okay? We are still communicating the same way. No bus service is coming, okay? And I am asking all legislators, please, if you're going to renew this contract, make sure you take a look at the service lines that they are providing to, because all of them are not great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Mr. Kazuski, just let us know, with respect specifically to N1, what issues there are going on with that bus line.
Yes, and can we please provide a date by which you can provide a report? Because I understand I believe what you said, but I also believe what my constituent said, and she's reached out to me multiple times. And 40-minute bus, a bus that's 40 minutes late, that's unacceptable. And I've heard this complaint again from many constituents. Can you please provide a plan of action in which we can resolve this?
Understood, and I will certainly report back to everybody on our progression on how we solve issues there. Obviously, we're failing here, and we need to find out exactly what the root cause is. Perfect.
Thank you very much. And before we go to our last speaker, I just want to welcome Dwayne Gregory, our former presiding officer of the Suffolk County, our counterpart. It's great to have you here. Last speaker is Jerry Kornbluth from Nassau Community College.
Good afternoon, legislators. My name is Jerry Kornbluth. I'm the Vice President of Community and Governmental Relations at Nassau Community College, and I am here representing the college in the support for Nice Buses and Jack Couzeau. He and Nice Buses are a true partner for the college. I mean, our students at the college depend greatly on public transportation to get to the college. So it's basically, they're part of our mainstream because they provide success for our students, because retention is very crucial for the students. And if they can't get to class, then they can't perform. So our partnership has really gotten better over the years, and Jack has been absolutely fantastic. He attends our community events at the college. We provide about 5% of the ridership in Nassau County. He provides for us, for our students, 1,000 Metro cards. For all of his support, last year we gave him an award at our gala from the foundation for all of the things and his sensitivity and humanistic behavior towards our students. So we wholeheartedly support this contract, and we look forward to a long relationship with Jack and the Nice Buses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. So that's the last slip I have, so we will now close the hearing. Motion to close the hearing. Moved by Legislator Ford, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. All in favor of closing the hearing signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Hearing's closed. Move on to a vote on the proposed ordinance. So item 2, an ordinance to authorize the county executive to execute an agreement between the county and Transdev Services, Inc. for the management, operation, and maintenance of a Nassau County bus system. Motion by Legislator Ferretti, seconded by Legislator Walker. So that's before us. Any further debate or discussion by the legislators? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Is that everybody? Yeah, okay. So, all right, so it passes by a vote of 19 to nothing. Last item is item 12, Resolution 193, a resolution approving an amendment via Memorandum of Understanding to the collective bargaining agreement between the county and the Nassau County Correction Officers Benevolent Association. Oh, thank you. Motion by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Pillar.
Good afternoon, Andy Persick, Office of Management and Budget. The item before you is we only have one more union left to close collective bargaining with. It's the IPBA. The item before you is an MOU with the Corrections Officers Benevolent Association. I'll give you some brief highlights of what's in the deal, and I'll field any questions that you may have. It includes gross wages increases of 2%, 2%, 2.5%, 2.5%, 3%, and 3% from January 1st, 18 to June 30th, 2026. It also gives 15-year corrections officers members a $3,700 stipend. It includes contribution to health insurance starting in 23 of 2.5%, a new salary chart for any new hires after full and final ratification. It has some coverages issues at NUMIC that we've modified to have some savings there. It includes a health insurance vesting of 10 years. Vacation and personal leave will be reduced for new hires by 1 day in years 2 and 3. There's an reduction in hours for 207C examinations. Overtime will be reduced from 24 to 16 hours. for a straight time time and a half. It will also have the standard health care coverage buyout of $4,000 and $2,000 for families and individuals. There's a surviving spouse retiree health coverage in this agreement, and there's a stipend for some investigative units that to help with recruitment and everything else. So I'm here to field any questions. The cost of the deal is approximately $67 million over the life. It conforms to the pattern and is built into the budget and the multi-year plan.
Okay, any questions for Andy? We've had thorough briefings on both sides, as well as an evaluation by the Office of Independent Budget Review, so we are well versed in the contract.
Yes, we were very close, and we worked very closely with the Office of Legislative Budget Review, and we're within the same ballpark, I would say, for the size of this deal. So,
all right, any questions? All right, there's always one.
I know, there's always one. The only concern I have is just that the starting salary just seems to be a little bit lower now, and I know it was voted on by 82%, so I respect that, but I'm just concerned because we're having such a hard time finding correction officers, if we looked at that.
There's still a career path, I think, that's still good and viable. It's challenging in the employment marketplace at this point in time, I think, across the board, from what I'm hearing. So we'll monitor it. We'll see if we have problems recruiting. I mean, I know we're getting ready to put another class in very soon. We have, 25 candidates, so if and when we pull the trigger on that, we'll see, and in the next class, we'll see and we'll monitor it. We are cognizant of it, but we will keep our eyes close to it. So,
any other questions? Okay, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Carries unanimously. See, President Brian Sullivan's here. Congratulations on achieving this agreement, CBA. And also, I want to just say congratulations to you. I know you're retiring in the middle of December. You have been as strong an advocate on behalf of your members as there could possibly be. You've been here more times than we care to remember. Every issue possible with binders and everything else, but I mean that's you did your job excellently, and because of you, we were aware of every one of those issues, and we have been on top of them.
Thank you very much, Legislator Nicolello. I just wanted to a quick thank you to everybody on the panel. Thank you for voting yes for this contract. It was a long time coming, yes, and thank you very much for the shout out. I appreciate it. It's been a long, long road, and I'm sure you're all sick of looking at me. And I'll be watching in January from Naples. So when it's nice and cold, enjoy. But I will be snowbirding in case I have to come back. So.
Okay.
But Brian, I think you should wait and retire with Rich, myself, Kavan, and Laura. We could do it all in one fell swoop.
What's it worth to everybody here for me to stay till the end of the year? What do you think, Andy? Yeah. No. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I got it. Yeah. Presiding Officer, the vote on COBA was 19-0 or was it 18-0? Legislator Salages was just back talking to the constituents. We just want to make sure that his vote was recorded.
Which it should be recorded as 19-0.
He supported it. He
All
just
right,
want to
I
make
got
sure it wasn't recorded as 18-0 and he missed the vote.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll it's recorded that way.
Is 18? He said 19. Perfect. Yeah. Good.
But it's 19. It's 19-0.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.
All right. That concludes the business. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Legislator Ferretti, seconded by Legislator Drucker. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned.